What's up, everybody? I know it's been a while since I put up a video. Long story, but something that's just happened recently that I wanted to sort of bring to light. Other people have started to, and I wanted to throw my 2 cents in. I've gone 100% completely Fuji now, back to Fuji, I guess you could say. I actually sold off my A9 recently and picked up the XH2 to go along with my XH2S because I'm gonna try to make a run at it with a totally Fuji X shooter. So that's kind of the plan. And for the most part, it's been working out really well. Both cameras are really good cameras. Obviously, the XH2S has given me some really cool images and has worked really well at the racetrack and other stills, other different avenues of photography as well. Here's the issue that I'm having. I'm having this issue where is this 40 megapixels from the XH2, is it really worth it? I mean, just to boil it down, is it worth it? Because to be quite honest, most people are going to say, and most people agree, that 26 megapixels is just fine. It's plenty. But we're talking APS-C. This is an APS-C cameras we're talking about here. Fuji doesn't make full frame cameras. Now, there is something to be said about full frame files for sure. There is a difference. Whether the final product is that important, whether it's that important to you as an artist or photographer, or is it more important to the clients? Can the clients even tell? That's kind of the conundrum that we all put ourselves in when we're debating this full frame versus APS-C. I can see a little bit of a difference for sure. I mean, you'd have to be kind of not real smart to not see some kind of a difference. However, the final product, is the final product acceptable to your clients? Is it as good as? So, but that's not what this video is about, whether or not full frame versus APS-C, because I've settled on APS-C. I could do just as well with APS-C as I did with full frame, and I'm happy with the results. This video is about the XH2 versus the XH2S. Which one is sharper? Or actually, what the video really is, does Fuji's older lenses really resolve that 40 megapixels? Because I really think that's the issue. So here, we're in Lightroom right now. So a couple weeks back, when I first got the XH2, I wanted to see if this thing was going to be able to do any kind of motorsports. So let me go to the XH2 files. Okay, here's the XH2 files. And for the most part, it actually did pretty good. I paired it with the 50 to 140. I figured 50 to 140 is probably, it's not the fastest lens I have, but it's for, Fuji says, hey, the 50 to 140, the 100 to 400, they're all supposed to resolve 40 megapixels just fine. And for the most part, they're correct. So let's jump into this one photo here. And, it's pretty good. This is a panning shot, so it's not going to be perfectly in focus. Anybody out there that's ever done panning photography, the 42 is got a little bit of motion blur, but that's kind of, that's the thing, but for the most part, this is a very usable image. The Z is fairly soft, but I mean, it's info. You can tell it's a Z, right? And the tail light's a little bit soft. You've got all the motion blur in the wheels and all that. So it's really the focus kind of stuck right around here is where the focus pretty much stuck. But I mean, it's a usable image. Again, this is at 100%. We're zoomed in at 100%. So, there's bound to be some issues when you're zoomed in that far, especially, and also, I don't know what's going on with my computer lately after the last update. I don't know if it was the last Mac update or if it was the Lightroom update, but Lightroom's been acting really weird lately. But I mean, for the most part, it did really well. You know, it did okay. It's not as fast. Now the autofocus definitely not as fast as the XH2S. So don't even, you know, I've tried this out. I've had to sharpen some of these, like that one I sharpened, and this one I sharpened. I took what I've done is I took it into Sharpen AI from Topaz as a plugin. So I use Sharpen AI. Anything I need to sharpen, I use Sharpen AI. I go into Lightroom, I turn off sharpening completely. I'll turn it completely off to 0, and then I'll bring it into Topaz and sharpen it if I need to do so, because it seems to do a better job than Lightroom sharpening. Now this one, you know, I caught the sun flare and all that. The red that you see, I don't know what I changed in my settings in Lightroom, but now all my, if it's overblown, if the highlights are overblown, it just automatically goes to red without me even having to do anything. I don't know if that's a setting or not. Leave a comment if that's some kind of setting that I accidentally put in there. But in order to do this, I would have to go to subject selection and knock the whites down in the. Now, see now we're good. But it's weird how that works. But anyway, for the most part, it did an okay job, but a lot of these I had to sharpen. A lot of these I had to take into Topaz and sharpen up a little bit. So just to give you a comparison, so look at that door handle, and then that is the unsharpened from the raw file. I don't know why I used to load so fast. Now it's not even loading that fast anymore. So even if I go into, let's go into the mask and see, I've got sharpness up to 65, and that's as good as I could get. So actually, I probably screwed that up. I probably should have zeroed that out as well before I sharpened that, because I definitely sharpened that up in Topaz. See, in Topaz, so I think what it is, I don't think it's that the autofocus isn't fast enough. I think the lens isn't resolving 40 megapixels. I honestly think that's the problem. I think Fuji's kind of full of it. Now, here's the example I wanted to look at closer, and I've got some bird examples too I'm going to show you. But if you look closely, those numbers, and I didn't sharpen this in Topaz or anything. This is straight raw file. 249 ESP, whatever that means, and it's kind of sharp, like not zoomed in. It looks sharp, right? So then when you go in, you can tell that it's just a little bit soft. It's just a little soft. It's not that it's not that sharp. It's just it's soft, which I guess that's what not sharp means. But, both of these shots are, usable shots for sure, out of camera. But look, it's even blurrier there. It's just a little bit blurrier. And even the door handle, I don't think there's anything in focus. Everything is soft in this one. But from, when zoomed out, it looks fine. It's usable. You could print that, whatever, put it in a magazine. It would be just fine. But, zoomed in, obviously, it's a little bit soft. So I think it's the lens. I don't think the lens is resolving the 40 megapixels. The 50 to 140 is the lens I'm talking about here. Now, when let's go to the XH2S files. Now, I didn't use the same lens, but I want to show you. A lot of these I didn't have to go into Topaz. These are the XH2S files shot with the 90 millimeter f2. I should have swapped the lenses, and I should have used the same lens, but at the time, honestly, I didn't know any of this was going to happen. So let's go into, this is the same car as before with the 249 ESP. Now look how sharp that is. This actually should be a little blurrier, because this is not a good panning shot from my standpoint. I should have, I caught him. He was coming in on a corner, and I was trying to pan with it, and I did pretty much for the most part. But these shots are a little tougher because if you don't follow through, then the image ends up being blurry. But this one, look how sharp the letters are. This is with the 90mm f2 on the XH2S, and honestly, I don't think it's the lens. I think it's the camera. I think the sensors, these lenses aren't resolving 40 megapixels. I mean, I didn't have to sharpen hardly any of the XH2S files. Hardly any of these. I had to go into Topaz to sharpen up a little bit. Now that one's a little bit blurry, but the door handle's sharp. So that was just me losing. That was me with the focus shifting, and as we all know, and I've done this test before, that but at least it's grabbing something. But the XH2S isn't perfect. I've said that on several occasions. That's sharper than the other one was, but it's focused on the door handles. It's that door handle. Again, these are panning photos, and you're even with auto detect and all that crap involved. It's still, and is, pretty, look at the sharp. You can see that they wrote that on there with a marker, I mean, you can see it clearly. It's very sharp. But when you go back to the XH2 files, then let's see, there's the same car. Let it catch up. Come on, there you go. You can see it's a little soft. It's a little bit soft. And it's in focus. I mean, it's for the most part it's focused that, it is trying to grab the door. That one's out. So it was really trying to, this is where it was focused on. This is where I was locked on. So honestly, I think it's the 50 to 140 and the 90 f2. I don't think those lenses are resolving 40 megapixels. I really don't. I hope that's the case. I hope that's the case, and it's not the sensor itself, because that's going to be a serious issue. Fuji, and it's just now starting to come to light. There's video YouTubers that are starting to bring this up. That's starting to worry me a little bit. And again, I seriously hope it's just a deal where it's just not resolving. I would rather see that than the other, which is the sensors, garbage. These are some birding photos. I'm not a birder. I am not a wildlife photographer, but I wanted to show you guys and gals these photos that I took. Now, I did sharpen these up because they're soft. Notice these are zoomed in to 100% again. See, it's a little bit soft. It's in focus. It had the eye. It was in focus. It's just soft. And this is the 50 to 140. Now I sharpened up. Now look how it sharpened up so easily in Topaz. I mean, look how, it's a nice photograph now. It just had to be sharpened just a little bit. I used normal motion blur. So it's very little sharpening at all. It sharpened it right on up. So now it's it's a cool photo. But again, I'm not a birder. I don't this is also cropped, heavily cropped. And heavily cropped, I noticed another thing too. And I'm going to show you some XH2S files here on the birds. Let me show. I'm trying to find the ones. A lot of these I couldn't get in focus. The AF just isn't fast enough, and that's not a good example. Like when I got down low and you had the trees and stuff in the background, the autofocus kept getting confused, and it would just break off into the trees. It never would focus. As you can see, I mean, it just, anytime, as long as the birds were in the sky like this, and you had mostly sky behind it, it usually worked out pretty well. But here's another one that I had. I don't think I sharpened that one. No, I didn't sharpen it in Topaz. I just used regular old Lightroom sharpening, and it did okay. I mean, but it's still, It's just slightly soft. It's just like a tiny itty bitty bit soft. Like if I would have brought this into topaz, it would have been so much better. But I mean, there's still detail there, but you know, we're zoomed into 100%. But you know, zoomed out, it's fine. It's an okay image. I'm not a birder, so I don't know. Maybe you guys can school me on that. But see, this is what was happening with the XH2 a lot. Was if there were trees or anything behind that, that's what you got. I mean, it just oh, now I got one. That one that was actually a pretty decent one. So it locked in, but it's still slightly soft. And I was at 2,500 shutter speed, so don't give me any crap about shutter speed this time. I know I screwed up last time, but this time I was not. But see, look. See, it's locking on behind. It gets confused. And that one it tried, it was kind of locked on. But for the most part, that's what I was getting, blurry images. I mean, if there was anything behind it, it just really super confused. The XH2S it's better, but it's not a whole lot better. That one is sharpened. I had that sharpened in topaz. This is the original. Or no, it's not the original. I had these stacked for some stupid reason. Unstack. So that's the topaz. And that's the original. Let it catch up. See? It's just soft. It's locked on. The AF is locked on. And I remember, you know, the eye deal was locked on, but it's just slightly soft. And then when we take it in and sharpen it up, it sharpens up just fine. And it took very little sharpening. I didn't have to boost it at all. It was just very, very little. Motion blur normal, which is hardly any sharpening at all. And it, you know, worked just fine. So that's the XH2 on the birding. Let's go to the XH2S. Yesterday, this was actually done yesterday. Same lens, 50 to 140, f2.8. And I did have to sharpen some of these, but there was a couple that were it surprised me how sharp it was. Especially from someone who isn't a birder. Now this one wasn't sharpened, and it's okay. It's sharper. It's not as blur. You know, it's sharper than the XH2. It's still not super sharp because I'm not a birder. But there's with topaz. With topaz, it's, you know, a very usable image. It's very nice. And let's see, is this the one that was sharp? That one's pretty sharp. I didn't do anything with topaz on that one. So that one was pretty good. But look at the detail. Honestly, I swear there's more detail in this file than there is in the XH2 file. And this is the XH2S, 26 megapixels. I think the lenses are not resolving 40 megapixels. I think Fuji had to say that, because if they didn't say that, then people are going to freak out. You know, they're going to like, well, why would we spend $25 or $2,000 on a camera or $1,600 on the XT5, $1,700, and get worse images? So, yeah, that one is that sharp? No, that one wasn't sharpened either. So that was just regular Lightroom sharpening, which is, you know, it's a little too bright, but there's still some detail. Even in the blurry you know, the tail feathers are kind of blurred. But look at the feathers here. I mean, you still got pretty good detail. And I was not getting these with the XH2. And here is another one that I didn't take into topaz. It's a little soft, but look at the detail in the feathers. I think there's more detail in these feathers than there was on the XH2. Same lens, same area, you know. And this thing had the same problem as the XH2, just not as bad. So I still got, if there was something behind, the autofocus still isn't perfect, y'all. It's not perfect in any means. So here's one that surprisingly it locked on, and actually that's a pretty damn good shot. I mean, that's pretty sharp. And that had the, you know, crappy background, but that's no topaz. Actually, I don't even think I adjusted this at all. I haven't adjusted this photo at all. Look at the detail in the feathers. this has got to be the lenses are not it's not resolving 40 megapixels. I don't care what they say. I just these ducks where's the ducks? And yeah, bad. The XH2S is not perfect. But for the most part, the XH2S definitely locked on better. It's slightly, I guess it's, it had the eye, so it's not horrible. But then, sometimes it just didn't lock on. I mean, that's just the way it is. But generally, overall, the XH2S with the 50 to 140 did a much better job than the XH2. That one, if I sharpen that just a little bit, it's going to be, it's going to be usable. But again, we're at 100%. We're zoomed into 100%. I mean, the average person, you sharpen it up a little bit, they're never going to know. Yeah, look at this. It locked onto the eye. It's a pretty good image. It zoomed into 100%. That's pretty damn good. It's it was locked on pretty good. I had some ducks look at this. Here's the one I really want to show. Look at that. I didn't sharpen this. This is just sharpened in Lightroom. This is just the average sharpening. Where's the sharpening at? Oh, I didn't sharpen at all. Oh, I know what I did. I selective. So I selected and yeah, texture. I bumped texture and clarity way up. Sharpness at 96%, 98%. And then a little noise reduction. And look what that did. I mean, look at the detail in the feathers. And this is cropped. This is heavily cropped, y'all. Look at this. That's the crop. I mean, you would think that this 26 megapixel sensor would lose a lot of detail, but look at the detail. Look at the eye. You can see this blue. He has blue eyes. The frozen water on the bill, that's frozen water that's cracked on the bill. And you can see their little duck teeth. I think this is duck tongue. I don't know. And of course it falls off because of focus. But look at the detail. That's a 26 megapixel sensor. Do you really need that 40 megapixels? Or would the 40 be better? This was extreme close-up. These ducks, we were feeding the ducks, and they got up really, really close, so I was able to take these shots with a 50 to 140, and I actually had to zoom out a little bit. But I think it's they're not resolving. I don't think the XH2, the Fuji lenses are resolving the 40 megapixels. I just think that's the problem. So I just want to show you guys this, and these are my findings so far. Hopefully, I'm gonna do some more testing with different lenses and see if it's all the lenses, if like some of the newer third-party lenses, because I just picked up the 50. The 18 to 50 from Sigma, I just picked that up. I have the 56 1.4 from Sigma that I just updated. The 13 1.4 from Viltrox. So I have those 3 third-party lenses and I also have the Viltrox 85 version 2, 85 1.8 version 2. So I have those 4 lenses. I'm going to do some testing and see if this is a Fuji lens not resolving issue or if it's the sensor itself, because if it's the sensor, that's not good, Fuji. I mean, that's just not good, but we'll see. Thanks for watching. Please like and share. Eventually I'll get around to doing some more videos. Maybe. We'll see. I appreciate it anyway, all the views and hanging in there. Hang in there with me. Hang in there. We'll get there sooner or later. Bye.